The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRCMedia, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
This week on FRCMedia News, with the backdrop of negative publicity and distractions within the department, the City Council rejects appointing Interim Police Chief Kelly Furtado to the full-time role. Fall River will see its assessment to fund the construction of a new Diman Regional Vocational Technical High School rise significantly next year, and riders of South Coast Rail will have another public option to get to and from the Fall River train depot. All this and more coming up. It's Thursday, April 10th, 2025. This is FRCMedia News. I'm Keith Tebow. Since 2020, the Fall River Police Department has been served by 4 chiefs amid internal strife. That situation came to a head Tuesday night when the City Council voted 5-4 not to appoint Interim Chief Kelly Furtado to the job full-time. The latest drama came last week when it was reported that former Police Chief Paul Garvin, who resigned in September following union votes of no confidence, was fired following an internal and external investigation that accused him of storing firearms in his locker and leaving threatening items in the desk of the interim chief. Following his resignation, Garvin was slated to return to the rank as captain. During debate on Chief Furtado's appointment, City Councilor Sean Kadim said he could not support Chief Furtado's appointment and questioned the investigation of former Chief Garvin.
For decades, and I think my colleagues would agree with me, that this department has been plagued by internal politics that continue to foster a toxic culture, one where power shifts are driven by personal alliances rather than by principles of accountability and integrity. Unfortunately, this contract represents more of the same. The recommendation before us does not inspire confidence, and I have some serious concerns regarding the leadership and integrity of the individual being put forward. I have seen and heard troubling accusations made against others, allegations that are often seem to be rooted in personal dislike rather than fact. A clear example is the treatment of Chief Garvin, who had already agreed to step aside and serve in a different capacity. And that wasn't enough. Now we're watching efforts to tarnish his reputation, and for what? This should give every member of this body pause. In today's climate where accountability is too often treated as an inconvenience rather than a necessity, and that has to change. We have the chance to reset the culture in this department and restore public trust by opening a fair and transparent search. For some, that might be a difficult decision. For me, it's a clear one.
Councilor Laura Sampson supported Chief Furtado's appointment, saying changes have been made within the department.
There has been a chief that has been let go. That doesn't speak to his personal character. There has been accusations all around that he's a great person. It has nothing to do with that. That has to do with leadership and CEO ability of a department. One doesn't have to do with the other. But when you have a department that comes down and asks for help and takes a vote of no confidence, and they have lost faith in the leadership of this council and of the mayor's office, and they got behind a chief of police, and came and stood there in support in numbers that I haven't seen. And if this body isn't moved by the men and women sitting in this unit, I don't know what to say anymore to this department. Let me be stated further. I don't know if it's intimidation tactics or whatever else, that the former chief of police is sitting in this room, but the new chief of police that has been sat here and has given all of us the changes that has been made and the morale that has been put back and restored to this community speaks volumes.
Councilor Cliff Ponte also voted against Chief Furtado's appointment, citing the need for greater accountability in the selection of the next chief.
But what I hear and what I listen and when I get articles and I get correspondence that say trust, morale, engagement, I don't know if that's really how we're leading right now. This is not a personal attack. This isn't something that I feel is a personal attack on an individual. This is us trying to be transparent as a council and making sure that we were fair and equitable in the position as chief. This isn't a direct reflection on Ms. Furtado's capabilities as possibly being chief, but right now, I feel that we need to have a fair and transparent process. And we need to make, is it an outside candidate? I don't know. Is it an inside candidate? I don't know either. But what we don't know is what the process is like.
Per the city charter, Chief Furtado can no longer serve as interim chief. Mayor Paul Coogan says he's examining next steps in appointing a chief, including possibly reappointing Chief Furtado on an interim basis once again.
I was just disappointed. I think she's done a great job for us. I think she laid out what she'd done in a memo she had sent to all the councilors. And I think what happened last night was it turned into an investigation about an investigation. Whatever happens with Chief Garvin, he's on a different path now. That agenda item was to approve or disapprove the contract for Kelly Furtado, and it seemed like to me that most of the night it was talking about the former chief or what happened during the investigation. That wasn't even on the agenda, or I would have made sure Attorney Rumsey was there, or even if we could bring someone down that helped with the investigation. It just seemed like we went on a different path, and it never focused on what that meeting was about.
More news was made last week by a member of the FRPD. Officer Mitchell Walsh was arrested by Boston police over the weekend and charged with enticement of a child under 16, sexual conduct for a fee with a child, and possession with intent to distribute a Class B drug, cocaine. Officer Walsh has been on extended administrative leave from the department due to an unrelated personnel matter. In court, his attorney said the officer has a history of substance abuse. He pled not guilty, was freed on $5,000 bail, with his next court appearance next month. The Fall River School Department this week was the victim of a cybersecurity attack that resulted in the shutdown of all internet and email service. As of now, there's no evidence that any student or staff personal data was compromised.
They have not really gotten a notice other than the fact that they are holding the system ransom right now, and they haven't made a request or anything. Obviously, they have a bunch of different law enforcement organizations involved in this, and obviously our own in-house crew, and we're talking to experts. So we'll see how it plays out, but they're doing their best they can to see if they can fight their way out the other side of this.
As the Coogan administration continues preparation for the fiscal year 2026 budget, the city is slated to face a steep increase in its assessment to pay for the construction of a new Diman Regional Vocational Technical High School. Based on the budget approved by the Diman School Committee last month, the city's portion of construction costs next year will rise from just over $600,000 to $4.5 million. Diman Superintendent Director Brian Bentley says the school continues to have an open dialogue with the 4 communities within the district on how much yearly each needs to contribute to the project.
What we have been working on financially is not to blindside the cities and the towns. We have kept the mayor of the city of Fall River informed, as they're bearing the brunt of this. 76% of the construction cost is going to be coming from the city of Fall River. But we've kept the towns informed. We've already gone back to them to let them know. Most recently, we received an extra, everybody read this in the paper, but there's about an $11 million that can be applied towards the project. But it's not for us to put more material in, it's to drive down the square footage assessment back to the city of Fall River and to the towns. And we've gone to each of the towns and made the presentation, and also before the city council to let them know how we're utilizing that money. But yes, this year the assessment went up. Next year it's going to go up again as we now start to fall into the payback of the original money that was borrowed.
Mayor Paul Coogan says the city is making plans to meet its financial obligation to the project.
I think we're going to put together a stabilization fund for Diman to try to set some money aside. So if we hit some lean years, right now that money's going to be in our budget. We've known this was coming for a while. Obviously, a few years ago, we tried to get a vote of the council, but they went in another direction, as is their right. And we have to find a way to pay for that school because obviously 76% of the students there are Fall River kids. So we have our responsibilities are to make sure we give them a top flight building to go to school in. And we're going to do our best to fund it. I think we'll be okay for a few years, but we'll see what happens down the road.
Mr. Bentley says the project remains on time and on budget, with anticipated opening in the fall of 2026.
We are on budget. Okay, in fact, we're a little under budget right now, which is good because we know we have some major expenses that coming up with the move, but we are under budget right now. Everything that's supposed to be in the building is scheduled to be in the building. There are going to be some little tweaks that once they start, they've encapsulated the outside. They're now moving into the inside of the building through a flyover that was just done with one of our drones. You look at it and you can actually see the gymnasium, the auditorium, the trade hall, and the classrooms. They're all starting to take shape. In 25-26, last year here in this building, equipment starts getting set up in the new building. So August of 2026 is when the new building is expected to open. Everything has to be in place because there won't be a Diman Regional here at this building we're sitting in right now. This is going to start to be demolished. So everything has to be out of here. It's one of these things, if we can take it with us, we'll take it with us through moving companies. If it's going to be new, it has to be installed. And then this building, it's just going to be demolished.
The Diman operating budget for next year will be $33.6 million, a $1.2 million increase over this year. The school last week received news that it will lose $115,000 in federal funding, courtesy of cuts within the Department of Education.
We had put money aside, we do every single year, towards consultants that we hire by contract to come in and offer services to students that we don't normally offer during the school day. These are after-school programs, specialized programs with ELL, IEP students, English and math to enhance that. It's for those students who want to stay after and get help. And the money was targeted for them. Also, there are consultants, for example, mental health consultants in particular, that offer services to the students. And they come in, again, specialized. We don't specialize in that. We bring in the professionals and we contract with them. Some of those services are going to have to get cut as a result of the $115,000. It will not be direct classroom cuts for teachers or to the students. They will not lose any of that out. But we will lose those services that we offer to the students, and they're essential to the students who need the help, is that has been cut.
This is the time of our program where we look at the Fall River real estate and economic development news. I'm joined, as I am weekly, by Kevin Lawrence. He is the owner, operator, and publisher of Fall River Development News. You can find him on Facebook. Kevin, how are you this week?
Very well. Happy to be here.
All right, let's get right to it. We have 3 projects this week that are actually going to be new housing projects. One complete, one that will actually literally be starting from the ground up, and one that will occupy an old school in Fall River. Tell us about them.
All right, we'll start off with Rodman Street. Demolition has started at an industrial property at 771 Rodman Street. It's the former Rodman Repair Garage. It's going to be transformed into a new residential townhouse development. The construction fences have been set up around the perimeter of the old garage. They removed everything from inside and outside, and they'll be raising that building soon. And Rodman Enterprises, LLC, they propose to construct 4 townhouse-style apartment buildings containing a total of 14 units, 2 4-unit buildings, and 2 3-unit buildings. So that's an industrial property that's going to be transformed into a residential area very soon. And I'll move on to the St. Louis School. That's a vacant school building on Division Street in Fall River. That's going to get some new life. McPherson Development going to be converting the school into affordable condo units. It'll have 18 condo units. The good news about this project is it's going to be affordable. residential purchasing. 9 of the new condominiums will be sold to home buyers earning up to 80% of the area median home income, and 100% will be the other remaining 9 units will be for home buyers earning up to 100% of the area median income. So that's going to give some people an opportunity to get into some new housing at a more affordable price with what's going on lately. And finally, we'll do the credit union. The former Garment Workers Federal Credit Union building at 146 18th Street in Fall River has been transformed into a residential duplex. That's been vacant for years. It was kind of a bizarre building, Keith. It was very retro looking. It's got a stucco facade, and now it has 2 duplexes, and they're asking, believe it or not, $699,000 for those 2 duplex units.
Yeah, well, good luck. Hopefully they'll be able to rent those or lease those 2 units to anyone who may need them. So a lot of information there on housing in Fall River. The other topic this week has to do with the carousel on the waterfront. They're going to be under new management, and they're also going to have a new food vendor in the carousel coming up this summer.
Yes, as of Memorial Day weekend, they plan to reopen, and it's going to be operated by Red Oak Hospitality. You may be familiar with Red Oak because they are owned and operated by Carl Pelletier and his parent company. They also own the Tipsy Toboggan in Fall River, the Canned Heat Beer Company along Ferry Street, and the Old Grist Mill Tavern in Seekonk. They're taking over operations at the carousel, and they say guests can expect everything from large-scale events to intimate birthday parties and for milestone celebrations. They're also planning to make it a year-round destination. They're planning to have some holiday festivities during the Christmas season at the carousel. So that's really going to be a great thing because it was only really operating during the summer months, but they're going to try to make it a 12-month a year destination rather than just a seasonal spot in the summer. And the big news is also Mr. Pelletier and his entity, Red Oak Hospitality, they're also going to be opening up Gathering Grounds Cafe inside the carousel. They also have one at the Grist Mill in Seekonk. This is going to be their second location. Gathering Grounds bills themselves as a cozy retreat where coffee, books, and ice cream come together. So as well as riding on the carousel, you'll have the opportunity to get some great coffee and sandwiches and pastry while you're along the waterfront. And this is a first-class operation, and they're making some interior renovations right now inside the carousel property. So we're really looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a great thing for the waterfront.
Yeah, I know down at the carousel, they've had a little ice cream shop down there. So that's usually on the ground floor.
Yeah.
Carousel, of course, is upstairs.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to get some entertainment with the carousel, come downstairs and grab a cup of coffee or some pastries or some ice cream. So yeah, hopefully it'll bring a boon and more foot traffic down to the waterfront this summer. You can check out Kevin at Fall River Development News on Facebook. Like him, subscribe, follow, whatever you need to do. If you want to get the update on local economic development and real estate issues in Fall River, follow Fall River Development News. All right, Kevin, we'll talk next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center. Customer Service Specialist, Sherwin-Williams Paint Store, located at 555 Pleasant Street, seeks a full-time customer service specialist to work closely with wholesale and retail customers to determine customer needs and answer questions about Sherwin-Williams products. Job number 223-62853. General Dentist, Aspen Dental, located at 824 William S. Canning Boulevard, is looking for a full-time general dentist to diagnose, treat, and manage patients' oral health care needs, including root canals, fillings, and gum care. Job number 223-66605. Storage Facility Housekeeper, U-Haul, located at 1030 Pleasant Street, is seeking a full-time storage facility housekeeper, responsible for daily maintenance of storage units and trash disposal. Job number 223-72662. Cycle Counter, Whirlpool Corporation, located at 88 Current Road, is looking for a full-time cycle counter. For more information, call 508-678-9000. CVS Health, located at 550 Pleasant Street, has an immediate need for the following full and part-time positions. Pharmacy technician, job number 223-76995. Store associate, job number 223-77003. For more information about these or other positions, visit Mass Hire JobQuest at jobquest.dcs.eol.mass.gov or call the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
On Monday, candidates seeking to run for Fall River Mayor, City Council, or School Committee had their first opportunity to obtain nomination papers for this year's election. After the first 3 days, here's a list of who has taken out papers thus far. There are 5 residents who have taken out papers to run for mayor. They include incumbent Paul Coogan, who is seeking his 4th term. Also taking out nomination papers, Carlos Caesar, Michael Vandal, Alphonse Hathaway, and Gabriel Boomer Amaral. 5 candidates thus far have also taken out papers to run for City Council. 3 incumbents have done so already: Linda Pereira, Andrew Raposo, and Paul Hart. Joining them are newcomers Laura Pacheco and Nathan Sylvia. 2 individuals have taken out papers to run for School Committee: newcomer Randy Scott Dudek and appointed incumbent Colin Dias. The final day to return completed nomination papers to the Elections Office is July 19th. The city's preliminary election is set for Tuesday, September 16th, with the municipal election set for Tuesday, November 4th. Continue to follow FRC Media as we provide complete coverage of this year's municipal election. The Southeastern Regional Transit Authority, SRTA, has announced a new service that will supplement its fixed route system to deliver riders to the South Coast Fall River Train Depot. SRTA secured a $650,000 grant from Mass DOT to fund a pilot program called Micro Connector to offer transportation service on weekdays to and from the depot during early morning and late evening hours.
Most of our service in Fall River starts kind of between 6:30, 7:30 in the morning, and then a lot of it ends in the evening, kind of, starting to end its trips by like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. And so we wanted to provide a way for people to access the South Coast rail stations for those really early morning trips. I mean, if you have to commute up to Boston and be somewhere for a typical workday, 9 or 10 in the morning, you might have a tough time getting to the station on the fixed route, if at all, because of our schedule. And then the same if you're coming home in the evening at those times, we may have a tough time getting home again because of our schedule. So the micro connector kind of fills in those gaps without having to run all of the buses in the fixed route network. We can run a service that will pick people up directly at their house and bring them to the station in the morning, and then pick them up at the station in the evening and bring them directly to their house.
The service costs only $1 and can be reserved through a smartphone app or by calling 774-220-6961. The coverage area for the transportation service is restricted to a 3 square mile area of Fall River.
The area it's about half of the city, generally from President Ave south all the way to the Rhode Island line, and then as far as east and west is pretty much is developed in Fall River. We did a lot of demographic research into the potential passengers on the South Coast Rail, and not just who's going to be using South Coast Rail, but specifically who's going to use South Coast Rail that probably needs help getting to the station because maybe they don't have a car, or they only have one car in their household, or and that was essentially the neighborhood or the part of Fall River that we found that kind of fit that demographics of the people most likely to use South Coast Rail and also going to need help getting to the station tend to live in the southern part of the city versus the northern part of the city.
After the early morning hours, free SRTA bus service will transport riders a short walk from the station.
We cover the entire city of Fall River, and we go as far as Somerset, Swansea. We go east towards New Bedford. So we can get you to the station if you can get to our downtown terminal, and then from there you'll transfer to the Route 102, the North Main route, and you'll take a short ride up up North Main, and you get off at Pierce Street. At Pierce Street, there's a short walk, maybe 2 blocks, if even that, down the hill, and you're at the station. So it's a pretty quick trip from downtown to get to South Coast Rail.
Micro Connector service will have 1 van dedicated to most riders and a second van for those with mobility issues. Mr. Timble says the service will run until June of 2026, when it will be evaluated on its usefulness.
We can serve the public, and they get their trip where they need it and when they need it. But then on the other side is we start to understand the use patterns and where the people are coming from. We know they're going to the station. So once we get a really good idea of like where people are coming from, then we can start to decide long term, is the micro connector going to be the best way to continue this service? Or maybe we see that a lot of the use is right along our certain bus routes, and we'll just turn those bus routes on earlier in the day or run them later at night to provide that connection. So the micro connector is it's a pilot service for us to kind of better understand how people are going to need access to South Coast Rail and the times of the day that they're going to need access to South Coast Rail.
For more information on the Micro Connector service, please visit the SRTA website. We'll wrap up this edition of FRC Media News after this.
Hi, welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Today we have Hazel. Miss Hazel here is a 4-year-old domestic short hair. She's all gray, as you can tell. She actually was an owner surrender. Unfortunately, her previous owner, the new place she was moving to, the new landlord wouldn't allow pets. She probably wouldn't do well with dogs. She would do well with children. She would do fine with them. She's very, very sweet. She really needs a nice home to settle into. If you think that you have the circumstances for her, or if you suspect that you might, and you just want to come down and see, you can come on down to 300 Linwood Street in Fall River, Massachusetts, at Forever Paws Animal Shelter. You can also give us a call for more information at 508-677-9154, or you can always email us at FPAS1. That's the letters FPAS, the number 1, at foreverpaws.com. Today we are showing you Bruce Wayne over here, the Dark Knight himself. He is still a young man. He is only 6 months old. He's, as you can tell, he's short hair. He's all black. He came to us actually as an owner surrender. He is a playful guy, even though he is a little bit of an older kitten. A lot of people think of kitten like around the time they're 2 months old, those tiny itty bitty, that sort of thing. He's going to end up being kind of a larger cat. He would probably do well with older children, just fine. Younger children, like 5, 6, that kind of stuff, he might be a little bit too much for them. So if you think you might be a good fit for Mr. Bruce Wayne here, you can come down to 300 Linwood Street in Fall River, Massachusetts at Forever Paws Animal Shelter, and then we hope to see you down here.
That's all for this week's edition of FRC Media News. Visit our website, frmedia.org, for more local news and information. FRC Media News airs Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. on Channel 95 and the Fall River HD channel located on Channel 1072. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next Thursday.